getting Robbie out there look pretty good? Is he ticked every box, absolutely locked in?
Yep, yeah, he's right to go. So, which is really positive because we all seen the incident, and Rob, as we said, Strathgame was pretty positive about how he was feeling, and he's now done his concussion testing and stuff and passed all those. And as you've seen today, he was running around out there. So he ran around on, what day is it today? Friday, Wednesday as well. So he's been pretty positive all through the week.
And needless to say, a player of his quality, that's a big plus for what is a huge game.
Yeah, it's a big plus, there's no doubt that. But clearly, we've still got to get to Sunday, but we'll make sure he's okay tomorrow. But in any of these circumstances with concussion, you're never quite sure when it may come up again.
Given his history, barring a setback.
He's playing. Yeah, no, he's playing.
Given his history at all, was there any sort of...
No, not really. You're talking about...
He's had a couple of nasty knocks.
We had one against Carlton some years ago now. He's not been a 2 or 3 in a season. I think that's when you do start to become concerned. But for Robbie, we wouldn't take any issue with concussion. Let's be really clear. Regardless of the player, he's got to look after welfare first, and he's right to go. Otherwise, our doctors, they're excellent doctors. They would not take that risk.
Would you be for just a mandatory week off for concussions, regardless?
Again, outside my expertise, I'll let the medical people tell me whether that needs to be the case, and if the AFL say that needs to be the case, as is always, we'd abide by the rules.
Sorted out of 22?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we've gone through that.
Can you shed any light on perhaps who comes in? We know at least one has to go out.
Yeah, well, Jared Leonard will play his first game, which is really good news. So that's big news for us as a mature age player. We brought to our club from Sturt, premiership player from Sturt. He's been playing really well. He had an interruption where he had some knee surgery. He probably would have played well before this, to be fair. And he's worked his way back 3 weeks back now, and he's playing some really strong football. And we look forward to the opportunity for him to debut.
What sort of role do you expect him to
play? He's been playing as a key back. Now, he is 193, so that's helpful.
But he's got a bit of pace, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got pace, got a nice leg. He's got some really positive things that you like about him. That's why we're playing him. We think he's got some AFL stuff that will make us better.
That's the sort of prototype type player you want in 2018, isn't it? Everyone has to be pretty quick, don't they?
Yeah, we want some speed and some agility. We also want some other weapons, and and height certainly helps you. Dougal's another great example of that, isn't he? He's a tall man, but he's got exceptional speed, so those things work for you.
I suppose that means Dicko and Westhoff will do the rucking.
That's what it means.
How do you feel going into that, as much as you disappointed that Paddy's going out? That's obviously what.
We've had experience in it this year, so it's okay. We've been through it. We know what it means. It means some slight disruptions in the perfect world you wouldn't want to do, but it's what is it, round 7, 18 coming up. There's injuries all over the AFL, so we're no different. We've got some injuries.
So how does that affect the forward structure, especially when goal scoring has been a bit of an issue for the Power?
Yeah, so we're not going to go backwards there, are we? Whatever we do might be better. So we're pretty keen to, clearly we'll be a bit smaller because of that reason, but we've got some flexibility in that space. We've got plenty of mids that can go forward, and we've got plenty of other people that can play in that spot.
So Ken, just a one change, Lena.
There'll be two. There'll be 2 changes.
What's the other one?
We'll bring Jasper Pittard back into the side, and Riley Bonner will go out.
Okay. Is that knee related?
No, Riley's just going out from form. He's had a really strong season as a young player. He's just been dropped off a little bit in the last while, so he's got some things to continue to work. I would imagine Riley get back in our side pretty quick though. We think he's got an enormously bright future.
Ollie Wines just did some run-throughs on his own. Is that a normal thing?
Yeah, well, it's not normal, Tommy, but it's not unusual at this stage of the season to manage someone a bit differently. And when you play like Ollie plays, he gets a few bruises.
I mean, this game's huge, isn't it? GWS look like they're on the upward trend. Huge for you after the blip last week. They're all big games, but
yeah, they are.
This is enormous.
Yeah, they all are. I mean, it's a business end of the season, so you've got a side who are we've got 5 and 6 on our ladder, I think, isn't it?
Yep.
That's as close as it gets. It's as big as it gets. We look forward to it.
Paddy Ryder, still 1 week or maybe 2.
He's progressing pretty well, but we, as I said, with the injury, you didn't know at any stage how long it's going to be, and it does become a matter of when he starts to run again. We expect he'll start to run early next week. If that's the case, it'll be pretty positive for, a couple of weeks, I reckon.
A lot of talk from Melbourne, particularly about Jared Pollock. Potential money being thrown around. With all of that, do you just turn a blind eye, or what do you do when all that stuff comes in?
Oh no, I'll throw it back. What do you want us to do in that space? It's the modern game, isn't it?
It is, and it's a player's market in a lot of ways.
I always say they have the right to negotiate. Jared's always positioned things pretty comfortable for us. I think, as he said, he wants to see how his season goes. He's been like that from the start of the season. I think only maybe 2 days ago he said something along the lines as his first option is to stay at Port Adelaide, loves Port Adelaide. But it is a business.
Do you share Stuart Dews? I know Stuart Dews said about Tom Lynch that it's round 18, and obviously if nothing's been signed by round 18, you do get a little bit nervous. Do you share that sentiment, like a little bit nervous that Polly...
Nervous? I don't know whether you get nervous, but I think you understand the reality. The reality is there's still a decision to be made. Now, sometimes the decisions are a bit different. Some part of it's a negotiation of what you're trying to achieve, and maybe you're playing a game of cards where you're holding out a little. Both are trying to get what they want, you know. And I think from our point of view with Jared, I go back to what he says. He loves being at Port Adelaide. We brought him back here 5 years ago, South Australian boy. But some stage, someday, people move.
So presumably, obviously he wants to say, presumably the club wants him.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
So
yeah.
where's the sticking point?
I would have thought it's somewhere in the art of negotiating a contract. That would come in term and in dollar form, I'd imagine. But that's not my job.
If North offers a lot more money for someone like Adelaide,
And they offer a lot more money for a lot of players.
yes, so that would probably, from an outside looking, be the sticking point with this, that they could offer a lot more money than maybe Port can.
Correct, they can. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But there's a decision to be made by the player and what he wants to do. You know, and we've seen a couple of times over the last little while that clearly top end money is not the only solution. You know, we've seen players last year walk away from massive offers and stay at their clubs.
Do you think the lines of, I don't phrase this in a bad way, but do you think that the lines between loyalty to a club and look, he's got a huge deal, he's may as well take it. Do you think they're getting like blurred and people aren't so you have to be loyal in 2018? Like with the way the AFL's evolved.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. We love the thought of loyalty, don't we? We absolutely do. We're all football people. We all like the idea of being one club players. It doesn't happen. You know, it's not that rare, but it's not unexpected in today's game that some of that drifts away. That's what the business is. It's what we set it up for.
Do you get involved in any of those discussions regarding like list and cap space and how you're going to manage people wanting certain money?
No, certainly list I do, because it's the list that I coach. So, but certainly along with Chris and Jason, that's their biggest roles, is to make sure that they take care of all contract negotiations.
So do you prepare, given what you've seen in the marketplace the last couple of years with some big names, especially in Adelaide the last couple of years, do you brace for how Chad's going to handle 2019?
No, not at all. No.
Too far away?
Yeah, too far away. But they're good questions as far as that's what you're doing. You're forecasting what may happen. I would get used to the idea of people getting big offers.
What about something that you do look after, Ken, the sort of gameplay, game style? What have you put as your main points this week? This is what we did last week that we can't do again this week.
I think we were just the obvious is that we messed up the ball too much ourselves, but we also didn't challenge the opposition with our work rate. I thought when we had the ball, we defended pretty well, but we weren't able to hit the scoreboard as well as we like. We're playing a side this week that if we don't hit the scoreboard a bit better, we're up against it, because we know they will.
Why do you think a team in your position, given the opportunity you had last week, why do you think the players didn't give the work rate that you would have liked?
No, they were off. We talked about it straight after the game. We messed up a great opportunity. Fremantle took it. This competition does it. I think we've won, 7 out of our last 9 or something. We've lost 2 games by 11 points. We've had a couple of bad performances when we don't want them. We've been in the games.
With respect to the teams you have played, is this more a revealing test given...
You're talking about Richmond and Melbourne?
Talking Carlton, St Kilda, Fremantle. Do you think this one in the last sort of 3 weeks is a real revealer of where you're at?
I think we've got a really tough last 6 weeks of the year, but I would have thought every club in the competition thinks that when we look. As coaches, we don't look at the draw and look at the ladder. We look at the draw and go, we've just got to win this game every week.
Well, beating Carlton and to your credit, winning in the fashion you did is one thing, but to take on GWS, a team that's tips for a bit of a shake in September.
Yeah, I would challenge the thought that not that long ago, the messages that we were hearing about GWS, that they were gone, their season was washed.
Yeah, absolutely. So now
it's not happening, is it?
Now they've turned that around.
Yeah, they're a good team, and every team in the competition on their day are a good team.
And there's so many quality midfielders. Is Tom Rockcliffe the guy, the guy you pinpoint to maybe be a tagger if one of those guys gets off the chain?
Oh, not necessarily, but he can do that job, and Pau Pepper's done that job. Ollie Wines has done that job. So our midfield, we'd like to think, has got an accountability to every one of them. But yeah, there's a gamer and there's a challenge at times where you have to probably take care of one of the opposition's better players if they get going. We'd hope that doesn't happen, but it might.
The midfield's got numbers back now. Obviously, Scully is still out, but all the other big guns are back in. How strong is their
They're really strong. There's no doubt. And both are probably, missing a ruck. Both our midfield's quite strong. Their midfield's really strong. There's no doubt about that. But it's a great challenge for both teams. It's a really good game, to be honest. It's 5 and 6, as I said. It's a cracking game.
Can all the talk about the state of the game? What's your theory on that? Starting positions and all that. Everyone's having their say this week. Whitey's had a crack at Bucks and all that. What's your? Is it as bad as it sounds? And would you like to see change? Or
Look,
are you happy where it's at?
I like the game the way it is, but I've always said I'm not frightened of change. But I also like the game the way it's being played. And unless you're really sure, I thought I think I've seen Dimmer say something. Unless you're really sure what you're going to get, just be a bit cautious, because you might get something you don't want. At the moment, we know what we've got. We've got the most even competition going around at the moment. Yeah, we've got a couple of sides down the bottom who are struggling and starting to get themselves out of trouble. But more often than not, what have we got now sitting in the maybe category? 12, 13 teams with 6 games to go. It's a good competition. You set out the start to make it even and close. It's not far off it.
If the pressure is coming from television networks, as it's reported, in terms of viewership and stuff like that, is that a dangerous path to go down? Should we just be, like you said, obviously stick to, let people decide how the game looks, because they actually know the game?
Can I remove myself from those decision-making issues? Because they're not my job, and that's what I will say. I'll let good people take control of that and let them make those decisions, and I'll trust them.
I think you said after the game, you're not for a red card or a sin bin after Robbie Gray. You've had a few more days. Do you stick with that? Just don't need a send-off or a sin bin rule?
No, there's always an incident that could create some language, but more often than not, look at the big picture. I don't think we need it.
Did you watch Sam sit down with Trav during the week?
No, I didn't. No.
Good.
They sit down every night though for dinner, I think.
Can I just ask one on Carl Amon? Wouldn't have been his best game last week coming back in.
No.
He cops stick from fans, but his best is really good. How do you sort of get the best out of him after a game like last week, knowing that he is probably one of the last 5 selected in this team?
Oh no, look, Carl's, to be fair, he's missed a fair bit of AFL football in that period of time. And now last week wasn't his best game, but he had probably 21 teammates. So Carl's going to rely, like a lot of our players, going to rely on the team playing better. And he had some moments that he'd prefer not to have, but I think I've got belief in Carl that he'll have a stronger game this week.
Is this feature dependent a bit on what happens with Jared? They're obviously both outside runners and stuff like that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We like them both.
At his best, what do you like from Carl?
He's an outside runner who runs with the ball and carries it really well. He's a metres game player. In the modern game, he's exactly what you want. He's been a pretty good pickup for us when we picked him in the draft.
Has there been a trend this year that's caught you, not perhaps off guard, but one that you didn't realise would be as prominent as it has been?
No, not really. No. That's an unfortunate part. I spend too much time looking at football. I was all coaches and all clubs. We spend a lot of time, so we're not surprised by too much.
Is there one?
No.
But there's nothing that this has happened more than last year?
No, I don't think so. I think that the tightening up of defensive teams. I think every team's defending pretty well. The numbers seem to be that way. Scoring maybe has dropped off a little, but I don't think it's massive.